Hello and welcome to a special year-end edition of the France 24 debate. I'm François Picard. Will 2017 be remembered as a turning point for humanity? It certainly looks like it right now, with the sexual harassment and abuse allegations against Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein emboldening women to speak out. Cabinet ministers, lawmakers, famous actors, TV journalists are out of a job. Times Person of the Year shared amongst what the magazine hails as the silence breakers. Will there be a before and after Weinstein? We already knew what a casting couch is, that men who wield enough power will be tempted to abuse it, and that gender stereotypes still blur the lines enough so that everyday sexism and harassment can be passed off as gallantry or a bit of fun. Men still earn more money, are for the most part physically stronger than women, and generally wield more power. Until that changes, how do you stop the abuse of that power? How do you change mindsets? We're putting the question to journalist and historian Tatiana. Her books include Les mecs lourds, or Le paternalisme lubrique. I guess I would translate as lewd blokes.
Yes, it's about the phenomenon that's after chatting up someone or meeting someone in a kind of romantic setup, and the law against sexual harassment. That thing in the middle didn't have a name. This is why I wrote this book. Since it was published, we have had now the possibility to have a great law. So this was written just before the wonderful law that we have now in France.
All right, we'll talk about that wonderful law with the rest of our panel, including Emmanuel Jardin, Director of Innovation and Corporate Social Responsibility for French telecoms giant Orange, as well as President of the Mobile Women Advocacy Group. Thank you for being with us. What's written on your pin there?
Oh, it's sexisme, pas notre genre. So in English, it would be sexism is not our gender. So it's a joke.
Play on words.
A play on words, exactly.
Okay. Thank you for being with us. Thanks as well to Dipti Chander, president of Emma France, which promotes diversity in the tech sector. Thank you for being with us. The tech sector, which is, we'll talk about it later, is very male-dominated. So it's doubly challenging if you're passionate about it. We'll talk about that in a moment. Also with us, she's a biologist at the French National Institute for Agriculture Research, Maëlle Jaouanet, formerly with the French Student Union UNEF.
Exactly.
Thank you for being with us. Let's begin with the issues that because one of the big questions has been that, well, heads have rolled more in the Anglo-Saxon world than they have here in France. When you were a student at l'UNEF, you were confronted with this.
So I think the main issue in France is that we are cherished itself about love of seduction countries. And I think now we are in front about some problem in France, that we have a lot of harassment problem in all of different sector, like in university, in cinema, in music, everywhere. And with a lot of other young women that were activists in the UNEF during from 2003 to 2012 around, we have chatting together, and we were in front of the same process of harassment.
Here's the striking bit, right? Harvey Weinstein is 65 years old. So it's like, oh, this is dirty old man, he's a creep. But the people you're talking about, they're not 65 years old.
No. In our case, it was between people of 20 years old. And it was something organized. And
so why is that? Why are these 20?
I think it was because in the union or in the youth organization, you have a lot of young people. We are organized all together. You have like hierarchical rules between the people that are activists, and I think it's happened because we have like an emulsion, and also because all of us keep the silence during many years.
So how did you experience it?
I think it's the pressure. The pressure, because when we are activists in a political movement or in union movement, you are all together. You have to defend your opinion. You have to fight all the time. And I think you have a cohesive group.
So here in France, it was front page news.
Yeah.
There was this hashtag within your student movement, which was because in France there was a hashtag Balance ton porc, which is roughly what, out your pig or squeal on a pig. Yeah. That was with the Me Too hashtag. Yeah. And you had a Balance ton porc UNEF.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Because in UNEF during many years they are like a protection about the predators.
A law of silence.
Yeah. And after this article in Libération about what's happened in the socialist movement, we have decided to speak out and to regroup all together and to write a tribune in Le Monde and to organize ourselves. And because it was the time to break the silence.
So the silence has been broken. What was your reaction, Natasha Henry, when you saw this French student union movement from the left is basically where in France the silence was first broken after the Weinstein affair?
I think it's wonderful that women are now speaking about what happened and what is still happening. However, I don't think this is a revolution. I think this is a major step in the history of women's rights and our freedom to live and work and love and walk around and and be activists, political activists and students and everything, like any boy is allowed to have this freedom of everything that we still don't have. So this is a major step. It's a historical step. But it's not a revolution because it's one group after the next, one article after the next, one journalist after the other. But what Maëlle is underlining, and it's very, very important, is that no victim can do that on her own. No victim, past or present, can go tomorrow and say, Me Too. All the Me Toos on Facebook are mainly the women, you can see their names, but the perpetrator doesn't really have a name, so it's Me Too. I've been harassed by several men, in this situation and everything. But if you want to get things moving, and if you want justice against all this violence, because it's not true that it's a little bit of love and it's a little bit of being galant, like the French say, and it's a bit of romance. It's violence. It's horrible comments, horrible questions about your private life, a horrible flashing, giving you porn videos to watch, touching, groping, raping. I mean, we're not talking about something that's weird between love and romance and a bit more, more than that. It's not like that. It's violence. If it's violence, it works like a dictatorship. There's a dictator, he has friends, they are all, together in this, and they are victims, and the victims must know that if he does it to you, he's doing it to someone else as well, which is what's now coming out. So if anybody is in this situation, don't do it on your own, because they're very powerful.
Okay, last year we devoted an entire show to one of the vice presidents of the French National Assembly who'd been like you say, it was a collective of women who got together and outed him. Denis Baupin is his name. There was even one of his victims who he told, you'll never be able to get ahead in this political party if you don't, and it was, he bullied her, and he got cleared. So
it's still very important for the collective philosophy and for society to know that you can go and say, this man has done this to me. Because, fortunately, and this is a big historical step, everybody now believes the victims, which is wonderful, because me, in the feminist movement, this is what we have been saying. I've been part of the feminist movement for 25 years. We've been saying for 25 years, and our sisters before us for centuries believe the victim. Some statistics say, I don't know where that comes from, but that only 2% of the women are lying. So that's 98% who are not lying. So really, if someone has something to say about this, that this happened and this happened like this and this happened, you really have to believe her. This goes for all sorts of violence. I've worked with victims of domestic violence. They all tell the same story. You have to believe them.
So you have right now you have this wide spectrum, right? In France, things are moving, but moving slowly. We know that the number of complaints filed with police and gendarmes has spiked since the Weinstein affair. What were you?
Yeah. It has increased by 30% in the countryside and 23%, I think, in cities. So it's quite an increase of people going to justice and to say things, to say what happened.
Right. Going to report incidents. On the one hand, we're also seeing heads rolling fast in the workplace in the United States and in the UK and in politics. What about you heard Natasha mention there's only 2% of the women who are lying, according to one survey. How do you do it though in the current environment? How do you offer due process and justice?
How do we offer process and justice? So today it's true that in France a lot of people are more relating also to justice when something is not. When you have to express something, we will want to have justice, perhaps more than in United States, where there is the law is completely different, and so a lot of people know that whatever happened and whatever is the truth, there are a lot of chance that this person will not be charged. So to say thing outly to everybody on the web, on the internet, on Twitter, will have some power because people will be heard and they don't care about what justice say. It's true that in France, we need to go more to justice. So what we are working on now is really to have a platform and an application on the mobile so that people can really express and say what happened, and it will cover, we have to treat it more like risk management because we have to work in the prevention, we have to work during the crisis and to work after for resilience of people. And so we really have to go more and to say what is happening and to work also on people reconstruction.
Let's talk more about those practical steps that can be taken for prevention and how to report things and how to move forward. But first, let me ask you, Dipti, you heard at the outset Maëlle's account of when she's in the student union movement, she discovers this hierarchical system where there's a code of silence, where bad behavior is sort of covered. What's your not so long ago, or still a student. What's your experience here in France in that regard, that transition from being a woman and a student to being in the workplace?
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with what she said, and it's sad. It's really sad because today the law took so much time to take action when women face this kind of issue. Harassment, sexism. I think today we need to change the law. We need to bring it more easy. For example, if a woman file a claim, it will take so many months that an action will be took by the justice. Today it's a big issue. Emmanuel Macron told with Marlène Schiappa a few weeks ago that harassment will be a big aspect of his government. That's great because after what Me Too, Balance ton port did, it make him react about this issue. And today, I'm so happy that this happened. Why? Because now today, nobody can say that there isn't any problem according to harassment or sexism. Everyone knows there is a problem and we have to react.
Is it, in your view, worse, better, the same in France as it is elsewhere?
Well, I think it's everywhere. There is so many harassment. In France, we had a chance to see it a lot a few weeks ago and still today. I think there is a big issue in France. There is maybe we are one of the country where the harassment is so higher, actually.
It's one of the worst ones where? In Europe or in the world?
Yes, I think so. France is it.
Yeah. What's your experience on that score? What makes you say that?
Well, I'm in tech, so tech is also an industry where male-dominated industry, and
in class, in the workplace, you're surrounded by men.
Exactly. For example, in my case, I'm still, as you said, in university. I study at Epitech Computer Science, and on my promotion, we are almost 400 students, and there are only 8 girls. So yes, tech industry is really male dominated, and we have to face every day these kind of comments. You are a girl, you cannot code, or you are a woman, what you doing here? Go doing, for example, beauty things or whatever, but you cannot do coding stuff actually.
And so, what short of recruiting lots and lots of women, how do you change the mindset?
Well, it's hard. For example, I'm going to give you a few examples. Today at EMA, my association, what we do is we go in high schools, we talk with young girls, young boys, and we tell them that, for example, computer science is a field that anyone can go. There is no bias to have first. And another thing which is important is the parents have to play a big part, because the education is central to everything. So this is one of the things we do at EMA.
All right. One of the things that you do, Natasha, why have so few heads rolled in France, in your view? So far.
As I said, it's not a revolution coming from the United States. It started in France as well quite a while ago. And a week before the Weinstein story, we were already protesting against a cover of a magazine that had this famous singer, the photo of this famous singer who had
We'll show it in a
killed
minute.
his girlfriend years ago. So 6 months ago, we put so much pressure on the Cannes Film Festival that they decided, or it was decided, that Roman Polanski would not be the president of the jury. So it's one step after the next, and there are names. What worries me is the places where there are no names, where there's sexual harassment among anonymous people, colleagues, not necessarily the boss.
The high and mighty.
Yeah, places where there are small amounts of women and large amounts of men, and they have to face horrible things every day. I know, because I go to companies to listen to them.
How you change the mindset in the workplace, how you change it in the home, we're going to be talking about it when we come back. You're watching the France 24 debate.
Hello and welcome back to the France 24 newsroom here in the French capital. I'm Thomas Waterhouse. This is a brief summary of the latest world headlines. Polling stations have closed their doors across Liberia after the second round of presidential elections. It will, however, take several days to find out whether George Weah or Joseph Boakai have won that top job. In a Facebook video, Peru's former hardline president asks for forgiveness. Alberto Fujimori says he's let down his fellow countrymen. This as those who refuse to accept his official pardon clash once again with police for a second night in the capital. His unique style of political activism lands him behind bars. A court in China sentences the online activist Wu Gan to 8 years in prison. Better known as Super Vulgar Butcher, the blogger says he plans to appeal. And Turkey's crackdown on the press continues in earnest. A host of journalists and the country's Reporters Without Borders delegate have all taken to the dock. Well, that's it for the headlines this hour. Do stay with us here on France 24.
Welcome back, or welcome if you're just joining us. It's a special year-end edition of the France 24 debates. We're looking at what happens now after the Me Too phenomenon. With us talking about it, Natasha Henry, journalist and historian. Her books include Lewd Blokes, which you had actually updated during the Strauss-Kahn affair of 2011.
So it's not a recent problem, really.
It's not a recent problem, no. Emmanuel Jardin, Director of Innovation and Corporate Social Responsibility for French telecoms giant Orange, as well as President of the Mobile Women Advocacy Group. You have an app, which we'll talk about in a moment, that's coming out soon. Dipti Chandel, President of IMA France, which promotes gender equality in the tech sector. And biologist at the French National Institute for Agricultural Research, Mawel Jaouane, formerly with the French Student Union, UNEF. Welcome back to the show. Just before break, Natasha was telling us how here in France, the after Strauss-Kahn affair has been a mixed bag, with a higher awareness of predatory behavior, but also evidence that, well, the high and mighty still close ranks. When the Paris Cinémathèque staged a retrospective for Franco-Polish director Roman Polanski, there were protests. The maker of such classics as Repulsion, Rosemary's Baby, and The Pianist, who finally had to back down. And although there was the retrospective, there was a big stink as well. When the Weinstein case broke, it just so happened that very week, Les Inrecuptibles, which is France's answer to Rolling Stone magazine, had Bertrand Cantat on its cover with the caption, "Cantat in his own words." The leader of 90s rock band Noir Désir served 4 years behind bars for beating his partner to death, the actress Marie Trintignant. The outrage was fierce. Elle magazine responding, putting his victim on its cover under the headline, "In the Name of Marie." Maëlle Jaouane. It shocked some people in the newsroom when there was that Inrecuptible cover. Again, there was the timing of it, it shocked people even before the Weinstein case broke. It was, I think, the same week at the time.
Yeah.
What does that say about France?
I think it says that's like sexual harassment or sexual violence or violence against women are like an institution, finally. It's...
Because the newspaper itself said, but he served his time.
Yeah, but
he did time in jail.
Yeah. It's like a redemption right or something like that. But in the same time, you forgot that after Polanski retrospective in the Cinémathèque, they wanted to do the Claude Brissot retrospective. Sorry. And that means that all of this violence are institutional, and it's okay, it's fine. It's like normal in France, and I think it's not normal. And now we have to change that. We have to speak about that, and it's a major issue, and it's women that need to change the mind.
Dipti Chandler, did I hear you correctly that France has a bad reputation and that women don't want to work in the tech sector here?
Yes, unfortunately, I had a chance to talk with many women in Europe, and which are so brilliant with a very good background.
Because France is good at math. There's good engineers.
Well, there are, but not female, because they don't want to come, so they prefer to go to UK or other countries. So they don't want to come to France because, as she said, it's something normal in our culture to face harassment and not something which is shocking people.
So tell us about your application there, which is a way to fight harassment, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very simple app where you can write the number of people who will receive the information that you are sending. So you can type a message, or if you don't have the time, you just shake the phone and they will have the alert. And so we are working with police and gendarmerie, so the police in countryside, and also firemen, so people who can come also very quickly. So it helps you during the time and to alert people nearby, but also it's a way to make your file, because when you go to justice after, you have to give the proof in France,
Provides a record.
Yeah, exactly. And so here you can register, take photo, and so you are making your records, so you can go directly to the police.
And what's it called again? Remind us.
It's called Edwige Bodyguard, the call of the app. The name of the app, and also we are working with advocates for 24 hours and 7 days a week to have someone to talk directly, and because when you call the association, most of the time it's closed during the weekend, and for the 225,000 women who are listed, in social files that are victim of violence, they don't have today any solution. And also, there is this records that you can make with the app, and also there is a way also to say when everything is going good. So like a diary, because it helps you reconstruct yourself.
Yeah, it helps you to overcome the trauma.
Exactly, for
when
resilience.
Does it roll out? Remind us.
It will be out in January.
In January, so it'll be good for 2018. Natasha Henry, your thoughts, because what was it? There was that survey, right, for the French public transport, where they asked women, how many of you have ever been harassed on the subway? And actually, the number is easy to remember. It was 100%.
Sure, street harassment. Yeah, sure. But I want to underline something. It's true. When I go to companies, now companies are getting a bit worried that they haven't done the right thing and that all this has been going on and they have been sleeping. So I go to companies, I have a group of women and they talk freely and it's confidential. And then I sometimes go to human resources and say this has been going on. However, all the women always say, I have a problem with evidence. Nobody's going to believe me because there are no witnesses. Although sometimes there are lots of witnesses. I think we should call this sexual group harassment. It's not one guy with you, it's 5 or 6, laughing at the porn video and laughing at him grabbing you and all that kind of thing.
Just employing vulgar behavior in a meeting.
Yes. So what I tell them to do is, for instance, when this happens, you just write an email to your best friend. And then when the best friend has received 5 emails in 2 weeks or a month, this is very useful for the justice and the police. It's very useful. You can also record the guy without him knowing. They do that in schools, in high schools. I know girls who are 15 who do that with their teachers because the guy is calling them mon amour and les filles ceci, and girls cannot do maths or whatever. I know that from high schools. They have the phone in the pocket and they record the perpetrator. It's very useful for the child.
At your company, Orange, is there an after Weinstein already? Is there a change in attitudes in board meetings and in any meeting, actually, in any workplace encounters?
There are more questions coming to any meetings. There's been some people speaking out also. And it's true that it is an issue that has always been quite taken by the company. But yes, there is a before and an after because people can speak up more, yes.
And it's about changing men's attitudes. So how do you do that? When I went to university, because I went to university in the United States in my freshman year in 1984. When you arrived, orientation week, you had to see this video about date rape, which is, where it's not rape in the sense that we understand it necessarily. Date rape can be just pressuring a girl to have sex with you, pressuring a woman to have sex with you. In France, there isn't that kind of culture, is there, of public service announcements, of preparation?
No, what is good is that we see men asking questions about themselves. So asking, but do you think I did something that was not okay? And because there is this paternalism also, and what we call the sexisme bienveillant in French. So it is good intention sexism. You are a woman, so it's good that you do HR, or you are good at finance, but not at all for tech job, not for coding. And so you should have a job where you can take care of your family, of your babies. And so a lot of men put a real barrier between what a woman can do and what men can do, and more or less unconsciously. And after they are completely confident that when they are talking about a woman, about how she looks, about how she's dressed, they are doing the right thing. And now what happened is that they are asking themselves, but did I do something offending, or was it the good word I said during that meeting? So that is very new.
Marie-Joanne, I'm haunted by what you said at the outset of the show, which is that the women inside of the student movement you belong to were experiencing this from their peers, from people their own age. Does that mean that those men who are in their 20s, still in their 20s now, that they're all a lost cause, that it's too late to get them to to think differently. We can get them to, we can pressure them to stop acting differently,
Yeah.
but can you get them to think differently?
I think we have to believe the woman. We have to believe the woman. I remember when I was in the French National Student Union, the girls that speak, they are not believed. They are considered like fragile, like psychotic, like. And it's always the
victim
case.
blaming.
And if you will remember the Strauss-Kahn affair, when Tristan Bannon said something that happened with him, with the journalists or the people in general said, but she is fragile, she is like that, she is like that. And finally, the women are not believed. And so we have to think about something to believe the woman and to do something, like in the university, to do something to protect the woman, to have like a service, to collect the experience. It's happened in UK, for example. I know that the union, the student union, they did a survey, and then in a lot of university, like in Cambridge or in Oxford, now they have a real service with doctors, with nurse, with somebody to speak, and it's very important.
But how do you get men to rethink? This is what we're talking about is abuse of power, right? How do you get men to rethink the way they act around women?
Okay, well, I think it's really important today that men should be the advocate for change. For example, today at EMA, we are 500 in 12 French cities, and there is 80% of men today at EMA, in EMA. Why? Because, as you said, tech sector is male-dominated, and if male don't believe about this change, then we're gonna take so many times to bring that change. So men should be the advocate, the ambassadors of that change. And how to do that? We put different kind of actions at EMA. Is that men who believe that this change is important go and talk to other men and discuss why do you think that women should not be equal, why you talk about sexism, harassment, why you face or why you behave like this or that with a man. They try to talk with him and try to find a solution and try to understand what happened when he was young or what happened what he faced. So today we here, and I would like to call all men to be part of that change, because we need them if they believe that men and women are equal. So just go and stand up for us. It's really important.
And to define sexual harassment.
Yes.
But you need to change the mentality. In your book, at one point, you write, Natasha, that this paternalistic lewdness it is done in often cases for the man to prove that he's in control of the situation, that he's dominating the situation, and that he's in control, he's in charge.
Well, I have to underline that the French law of 2012 about sexual harassment has defined the role and responsibility of the company regarding all this. So it's nice if every individual looks at himself in a mirror and thinks, oh my God, I should really probably not be behaving like this. If they are doing this already, it's great news. However, we have to change the management, and the law says that the company has to provide a safe and gender-friendly place and environment to all the workers, female and male. So at the end of the day, if management doesn't send a big message saying this is not on here, you know, like you had when you got into the American university and they said, this is a date rape, be careful. You were really young, maybe.
I didn't know what it was.
You didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I think that companies need to put big posters everywhere. This is a gender-friendly environment. We will not tolerate 5 minutes of sexual harassment or aggressive behavior. They say inappropriate, as if we were in the Middle Ages. It's inappropriate. It's not inappropriate. It's aggression. It's violence. It makes women feel totally lost, and they don't know how to do this, because everybody's saying, yeah, you should speak up. But to whom? Where? If management isn't on your side. You're never going to say anything to anyone.
But Natasha, as you say yourself, the laws are on the books already.
The laws are on our side.
So the laws are on your side.
Yeah.
So the man who is inclined to this abusive power, to this abusive behavior,
he should know. He should
his
know when he
mentality-
signs his contract. They should tell him, this is a gender-friendly place.
even if they do tell him, how do you change his mentality at home? Is it too late? No, but is it too late for the young men who Maëlle frequented in her student union?
It's not too late, because if they get scared, it's, as you say, it's power. If they get scared, you're going to lose your job if you carry on with this behavior. You and your friend and your other colleague and this one too.
So you need a measure of coerciveness.
Yes. You have to have a strong message from the boss of the company.
And is there a change going on? You work for one of the biggest groups in France. It used to be the phone company monopoly. Now it's much more Orange. It's a giant company in a big corporate structure like that one.
There is already a number, so because it's very important, like Natasha said, that who are you going to talk to? So there are specific numbers, and in Orange we have a history where people have to be able also to call when something is not going okay. So this is really treated. It's in the ADN of the company, so that we can call someone for help. Because if you just have your hierarchy, of course, it's not possible.
It's about as well how we portray men and how we portray women. It gets us back to I guess the idea of how this is all playing out in media. One of the smash hits of 2017, the new Wonder Woman movie starring Gal Gadot, the Marvel Comics heroine, made over as both beautiful and badass. But there's debate over whether she passes as a feminist icon. Zoe Heller, writing in the New York Review of Books, says the imperative to eradicate any hint of bossiness or anger from her character weighs heavily on the film, threatening to turn it into one long, dispiriting exercise in allaying male fears about powerful women. Maëlle Jaouanet.
Yeah, I have...
You've got your Wonder Woman.
Superwoman. I have the bracelet, so...
Your thoughts on this, though, we like to portray women as strong, but do we go too far out of our way to say, well, but we're not in any way threatening to men?
No, I think we have to live together. We have to learn to live together. I think we have to do, again, the new education of guys. I think it's a problem of education. Women and men are equal. So we have to live together in equality. I think we have to live together in equality. That's my opinion.
But Natasha Oliman, she says, look, it's not going to change unless you use a stick and threaten people that say, look, if you do this, there will be consequences. How do you think that's falling on the ears of some of the young men who you frequented again in your student union?
I think for the moment we have a problem that a lot of them are not believers. So
they still don't believe.
Yeah. The guys that we call the predator deny completely what's happened. No, it's not true. It was just chat up. Okay, we had a lot of girls, but that's it. It was not harassment, and it was not a generalization of the harassment. And but the proof is that we were 82 to sign the Tribune in Le Monde. So it's not nothing. It's a real power. So now we have to be organized all together to do what we want to do now with this power, and to change the union and the politic youth organization, and we have to think about that now.
Dipti Jander, what do you think of the way men and women are portrayed today?
Well, I really like the video you played, because the Wonder Woman is so powerful. As I can identify myself in a tech, we have to be powerful and to say to man, okay, I am here just because I have the qualities, because I do a good work. And I really like the image of Wonder Woman, but I totally agree with Maëlle that if we want to be a woman which is not powerful, just a simple woman, then let it be. We can be as we want and not be like a man that, for example, a man is portrayed like someone powerful who can go and rescue a princess or whatever. But I think we should be like we are actually, and not be portrayed as a Wonder Woman or something powerful with so many power and etc.
I said Marvel Comics. Of course, it's DC Comics for Wonder Woman. Shame on me. Natasha Henry, how men and women are portrayed, is it going to change now?
I think it's nice that more movies are showing women. I mean, not necessarily Wonder Woman, but at least women, because a lot of movies only have one woman and 5 men. So it's nice to see a bit more female characters in all those movies. If they could not have 50 not be 50 years younger than the guy they are going to date in those movies, it would be even nicer. But it's getting there. We're getting there. Yes, there's still a gender difference in how people are portrayed in the media, in the movies, and in the press, and I don't know why this is happening. And I really want a world where we will never have to talk about power anymore. I think, what about peace? I mean, do they really have to behave like this? Do they really have to? I know I went to a company a few weeks ago. All the women around the table had seen the penises of their colleagues, because that's what they do at the lunch break.
What, dick pics?
Yeah, no, not real ones. The real ones.
Oh.
I know, this is what's happening. I mean, we are talking about serious violence. Serious violence. How can you work when this is happening? How can your brain concentrate on your work?
Why is that happening in 2017?
Saying, oh my God, they don't get a promotion, they don't get a better salary, they don't get this, and they don't go up to the... Of course they can't, because they're concentrating on all those problems and how to avoid them and how to make the situation not last too long. And it's half of their brains is on, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this? How can I make it last 5 minutes instead of 10? They have all sorts of strategies. It's a very interesting phenomenon, like leaving the office a bit later so she doesn't have to be in the lift with him, and so she is avoiding his comments, but she's getting home half an hour later because of that, and the children and the family and everything, but she still has avoided that situation in the lift. Wow, this is her victory for the day. I mean, it's very, very serious on an individual basis. So when will they stop?
So it's not...
Can they just not stop? I mean, why don't they just stop?
But it's not every company, right?
I don't know all the companies.
No, but the ones that you go to, it's different.
I've seen
various degrees.
I worked on a documentary film a few years ago, and it wasn't in Paris. We were abroad, and we were staying in the hotel, and the camera guy opened his hotel room because we were all going to meet, and I had to walk in front of his room for the meeting. And he was naked. It's happening to a lot of women. I mean, I didn't faint. I didn't die. I thought, what a loser, because it was only once. And he wasn't in a position of power. We were making this film with other people, and that was the end of it. So, but then when I was coming here for your show, I remembered that story. Oh my God, I thought, wow, it's happened to me as well. You know? So, I mean, the reality is crude. It's not just, you know, like you said, like comments. You know, when do I think that my colleague is harassing me if he says that this red jumper is nice with, I don't know, my eyes or whatever? Is that harassment, or is that, I mean, oh wow, but really the reality is horrible. They go through horrible situations, and the whole head is, this has to stop. Oh my God, no one's going to believe me if I tell them. Even I, after 25 years in this, I still find it hard to believe sometimes because it's so horrible. So this is why I'm saying management has to say, that's it now, finito. Posters everywhere, signing the contract, work contract. You know that this is, I think we need a strong statement here.
Yeah, and one more thing, I think
Very
in
briefly.
companies, yes, there should be training on unconscious bias for everyone. That will help men to they will help to educate men. I don't like this word, educate men, because we should not educate them, but to inform them that what he do is not correct.
All right, and we'll leave it there for now. Dipti Chandra, would like to have all of you back to see how it's going in a few months' time. I also want to thank Natacha Henry, Emmanuel Jardin, Maël Jaouane. Thank you for joining us here in the France 24 debate.